So, what we're doing today in comparison to the last lesson is we're not talking about absolute value equations, we're talking about absolute value inequalities. What that means is we're going to end up with a number line that's going to be shaded instead of a number line with just two answers. On Friday, I showed you how to do a solution set notation, John, with the brackets, and we put our two answers there in order. Today, our answer is going to be on a number line, back to shading and left and right and in or out or things like that. So we have two parts today. One is absolute values that are less than, and one is absolute values that are greater than. Now, I kind of gave you an example, and I worked this out up here at the top. As we're working and breaking up, when we have an absolute value, what this means is all the numbers that are less than 16 units away from a certain spot. What is that spot? That spot is x plus 2. So what we do is we're going to be concerned with the idea of the less than symbol is going to be associated with and. Remember when we did and thing? It's where they crossed. It was a conjunction. And if it's a greater than symbol, like this on example 2, it's going to be associated with the word or disjunction. So I just want to kind of show you some examples on the front page to kind of walk you through this. And it should be very, very straightforward, hopefully, if you just kind of walk through it with me. So let's look at example 1. When we have an absolute value, the first rule of thumb I'm going to always say, Luis, is get the absolute value isolated. And so on all of this front page, you're going to notice they're all isolated. They're all by themselves with nothing outside. I'm going to flip the page over. On the back side, like on example 7, this one is not isolated. All right, on example 6, it's not isolated. And so we're going to have to do something different to those two. But the first step is always going to be to isolate your absolute value. So it is already isolated. Now we're going to break it into two parts. The first part is the unique part. The first part is the negative part. So that's going to be negative 4. A is compared to negative 4. But notice on this first part, the absolute value sign, when it drops, we get a greater than sign. I changed the sign on the first part. Now we combine this with the word and. I'm going to put a box around that. A is less than or equal to positive 4. So on the equal sign stuff on Friday, we had the negative and the positive. We still have the negative and the positive, but when we do the negative, what do you do to the sign? You change it. Do you remember back a couple sections when we multiplied by a negative to both sides? What happened to the sign then? It changed. So now let's graph this. I want things that are greater than negative 4. 3, 2, 1, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want them greater than negative 4, but I want them less than positive 4. Now I'm going to fill in both of these circles. So where does the blue arrow intersect the red arrow? Where are they going to intersect? What numbers are going to be shaded by both the blue and the red? This goes back a couple sections. Just the word and. Let me flip back. Flipping back to section 5. X is less than 3. X is greater than negative 1. We had the left. We had the right. What was our answer? What's shaded in the middle? Do we have the same scenario here? This one's going to the right. This one's going to the left. What's my answer going to be? Everything that's shaded where? In the middle. So, shade everything in between. And then we need to remember how to write this. The smaller one is on the left, the A is in the middle, and the larger one is on the right. Notice what signs we have up here on both of them. They're both what kind of signs? Less than. So if you look at this one, let's read this one backwards. 4 is less than A. Okay? Questions there? Okay? It's just a little bit different. It's combining back in section 5 and section 6 kind of together. Let's look at this next one. Whenever you have a greater than symbol, absolute value, That's associated with the word or. It means either one is possible, Ryan. So I'm going to break this up into my two parts. M is less than negative 2, or M is greater than positive 2. Once again, I'm going to highlight the changes on the first part, the less than sign and the negative. When you change the sign, you also change the number. And then the other one is the normal way. Now with an or statement, it's very simple. There's negative 2, there's positive 2. Which way do I go less than negative 2? Do I go left or do I go right? Okay, I go left. So shade to the left of negative 2. Put a nice big arrow. And then shade to the right of positive 2 with a nice big arrow. Just a little review. Do I fill in my circles? No, because they're not equal to. Remember, with an or statement, you can't combine them. You can't combine them like we did on example 1. But you can just write it out. So basically, what you need to remember kind of as a summary of these first two. If it's an and statement, actually it's going to be shaded in the middle, in between two numbers. If it's an or statement, it's going to be starting on the two spots and going to the outside. All right, look down at example 3. X minus 3 is less than 10. So I have two parts. X minus 3, change the sign and make it negative. That's the first one. Because it's a less than, that uses the word and. And then the second part becomes x minus 3 is less than 10, exactly what was written without the absolute value signs. So the most important part as we're setting these up here, Noah, is you're going to change this first one right here, change the inequality, and change the 10 to a negative. Now, how do I solve this left one? That's back. Luis? Add 3. Okay. So x is less than negative 7. Same thing on the other side. X is less than 13. We want to write this as a complete inequality. So Ryan, my negative 7 goes on the left. My 13 goes on the right. X is in the middle. And what are my signs here? Do you remember how I do that? Okay. Less than, less than. How are you going to graph this? I only have this many hash marks on my graph. How are you going to graph it? Does each hash mark have to be equal to 1? No. Let's make each one equal to 5. Okay? Here's negative 10. There's 0. There's 10. There's 20. So, estimate where negative 7 is. Estimate where 13 is. And where am I going to shade? When it's an and statement, where do I shade? Everything that's where? In the middle. So shade everything in the middle. So just kind of quick review in here. And statement shade in the middle, or statement shade out to the side. So in comparison again, what's example 4? And or? It's a greater than. It's an or. So let's break it up into our two pieces. Y plus 4, the negative part's the challenge one. What do I change? The greater than becomes what? Less than. And the 2 becomes negative. Or y plus 4 greater than or equal to 2. Ingrid, some people last year would ask me, why do I always change the first one? Because that's going to be the one that ends up on the left already. So that way it's already in order of the correct process. How do I solve this one? Really straightforward. What do I do to both sides? Subtract 4. So everybody subtract 4. Someone tell me what's negative 2 minus 4? Negative 6. And positive 2 minus 4? Negative 2. So we have an or statement. We cannot write an or statement as one combined inequality like we did on number 3. So we just have to graph this. Negative 6, negative 5, negative 3, negative 4, negative 2. There's 0, there's -8. -0, I guess, but typically we don't say that. And shade to the outside. Couple people on the quiz, I forget if it was this period or other period, forgot their arrows. Why are the arrows important? Yeah, that's what we said. There's more off the graph than there is on the graph, so be very clear with your arrows. All right, questions on this first idea? When we're splitting them up, recognize if it's a less than, it's an and statement. If it's a greater than, it's an or statement. That's your two ideas. Change the first one of the sign and the number, and then just work it out just like we did back in section 5.